Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. The previous session closed within a very, very narrow range for the day. We bring this down to 1 day here. You'll see how tiny the previous session was in comparison to the days around it. Very narrow range, 25.25 points of range. It was about 40% of average. You can see most of the days here over the last month or so have been north of 50 to 60 points of range most often. And the previous session, again, was less than half of that. Today, heading into the RTH Open, 14 points of range, 23% of ADR as the market continues to be in a waiting pattern, a holding pattern here ahead of Fed Chair Powell's comments Wednesday morning prior to the RTH Open, and also Thursday afternoon prior to after the RTH Open. So you have 8:15 a.m. Central, Fed Chair Powell speaking Wednesday, and then 1 p.m. Central speaking on Thursday. So again, this market could be back and forth here. It could also become an outside day in both directions against the previous session's range, but ultimately expecting price to finish within what could be a 2-day narrow range ahead of Wednesday's trading. 43.75 is kind of that level right now where you get away from that level, you snap back at the moment. We could go new highs, maybe 4,400, snap back to 75s. Maybe we drop down to 50, snap back again. But expecting around a 40-point range today on the high end of the day's range, and right now we're sitting at 14 points. So very, very narrow with an upward bias at the moment. We take a look at the NQ right here. Very similar price action, very narrow as well. 26% of average range, 69 points of range. The previous session finishing very narrow. This market's been easily getting 300 points per day, basically 250, 300 points, and right now struggling to even top 200 the last couple of days. So the very narrow 2-day development at the moment. We could continue to see again price go through the high 15.3 maybe, and then drop back down 15.1. That's a 200-point day, rally back up, and you now have yourself a 200-point 2-day range. That's something that could play out with an upward bias. This market continues to see strength, so any push to the previous session's low or below it could be a prime opportunity to push it back up as this market continues to trend up toward recent resistance at 15.5. All right, taking a look here at crude oil. This one's down 2% right now. Down 2% on a downside break. A breakout from the previous session's inside day range, narrow range as well, and a breakout from the 5-day range. We quantified this 5-day range as a 6 to 7 point breakout mover, maybe as much as 8 points on the high end. We could be looking at a move that takes us over the next couple of days by Friday from the high here, and looking down 5 days, you could be looking at 83.50 minus 7 points, and you're looking at 76.50. So that's about where we could be headed ahead, just from that perspective. Now, from a breakdown point here, 81s might take you a bit lower, maybe 74s on the way down. But clearly we are breaking down out of a 5-day narrow range with the potential to see 6 to 7 points of range up ahead. You can quantify it right here. There's your 5-day reading. And what you'll see again is we're starting to go up toward the $7 range calculation, and that starts counting from 5 days back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the highest level? That is right there, 83.50 minus 7, and that'll give you your 5-day range calculation. But from the breakout point, we may see even more. So man, this thing has the potential to really break and continue downward. But can the bears hold on to these losses here and control the day's session the rest of the day? If price pushes back above 80 by the end of the day and gives us a strong low down here and a failed low, that failed low could open up a bounce back as high as 88. So this is going to be interesting to see. Does price close well below 80, or does it pop back above that level by the end of the day? All right, taking a look here at gold futures. This one's down about 1.25% right now. Also breaking down out of its narrow range here at the center of the 60-point range, 2020, 1960, hugging the 1990 level. Before it rallied up to the edge and pulled back. Now it's dropping down. Expect any push into 60 to find support. So expecting support to come into play in 1960, and maybe this thing has a chance to bounce back up and stay in the range. Failure to hold 60, and you start to open up more weakness into 1920 down below. So 1920 would be your next level below. 60 up to 20 right now has been the area where business has been conducted over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Failure at 60, and you open up those extra 40 down here. But right now, expecting price to hold in the 60 zone to push it back up toward 90 and maintain this range at that moment. But no signs of strength just yet. Bears clearly in control with 1960 test up ahead. Taking a look now at the YM. 2-day narrow range for the YM here. Very narrow at the moment. 104 points of range right now. That's about a quarter of average. There it is right there. 25% of average. The previous session very narrow as well. Less than 200 points of total range for the day. That's very rare as well. The idea is after all of this stretch last week, this week could be more range bound, especially the first few days of the week as the market awaits Fed Chair Powell's comments Wednesday morning. So again, today not expecting a whole breakout and move, but we can easily go outside the previous session's ranges. Basically go below the low, above the high, back and forth. But for the most part, keeping a narrow 2-day range. That's the expectation with an upward bias. Any push through 34,300 would be huge and would require a transition through that level to open up the next 1,000 points above. So right now, keeping an eye on 34.3 as resistance. 2-day narrow range in development. Look to fade the edges and avoid the middle chop. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.